Hey guys, it's Bridget with San Diego Seed Company, and today we're going to be talking about what you should be planting in March in zone 9 and 10. We are in our amazing greenhouse, which is bursting with plants. And before we get into all the details of what you should be planting out, thoughts on seed starting, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you're notified anytime we put a video out. So let's hop into it. If you follow our channel or have watched any of our latest videos, you know that we did a comprehensive planting guide that tells you what you should be seed starting across the United States. This video, I'm really gonna dig in and I'm gonna focus on zone 9 and 10 and March. So we are getting into spring, we're on the cusp of spring, the plants know it, everything's blooming, there are bees, everything just looks amazing. But the nighttime temperatures are still pretty chilly, especially depending on where you are in zone 9 and 10. Our Ramona farm can drop well into the 30s, and here we're still dropping below 50, which is a little chilly for our tomato plants. So I am keeping these babies in here in the greenhouse for two reasons. One, haven't had any time. Haven't had time to plant them out, and there's really, sorry. So I've got these guys still in the greenhouse, and that's because there's really no rush for me to get them outside into temperatures that are less than ideal because I have this greenhouse. Now for you as a gardener, if you have your tomato plants inside in a protected environment and they look really healthy and happy and the temperatures are above what they would be outside, keep them inside. There's no rush. You have plenty of time to plant out in March. You should be doing things like pulling weeds, mulching your walkways, prepping your soil, doing all the things that you need in preparation. There's no rush to get these outside and in the ground where they're not gonna do anything. They're really gonna stall because the soil temperatures are so cool right now. Now, I say that, and the flip side of that would be if you've got plants that are inside and they're starting to look leggy and they look unhappy and they really just need to go outside, you can plant them outside and they will do perfectly fine. I would recommend using row cover to cover your babies to ensure that they're just a little bit warmer. Row cover is going to keep them anywhere from 2 to 4 degrees warmer than what it is outside. And that sounds like, oh, 2 to 4 degrees, what's that do? Well, for a plant, that is a huge difference and can really, really matter to them and make the difference between them being super happy and not so happy. So our greenhouse is so full. We went a little crazy this year with tomatoes because we have our San Diego location and our Ramona location that we're planting tomatoes out. And these need to go into the ground pretty soon. And I'll tell you how I know that. You can see that they're really starting to fill out. They're getting to the point where they could become root bound if I left them in here for several more weeks. Luckily, in the next 2 weeks, they're going in the ground in Ramona with row cover and they should be fine. These were all planted in December and in February, and you can see how I've succession planted. We've got some of the biggest ones back here. Those were the earliest planted. And then you can see ones that were just planted. These were planted in the middle of February. So these guys still have several more weeks till they get up to the size of being, I would call them teenagers, and be planted out at the farm. Most of what I've done right now is focus on my tomatoes. And that's because tomatoes are really resilient. They're easy to get into the ground. They really can take some temperature swings and be pretty okay. Now, I'm showing you all of my tomatoes not to make you worry and go, oh crap, I'm a new gardener. I haven't started any of my tomato seeds. I'm too late. In fact, I really don't like hearing people on Instagram and Facebook say, oh, I've missed the window. For zone 9 and 10, our planting window is so long. You have not missed the window. You have plenty of time. Just keep in mind, if you start them from seed now, you're going to be later planting them out, which is not a big deal. If you want to go to the nursery and buy some plants, you can as well. Just keep in mind, and you'll know this from our other videos, what you find in the nursery is going to be very limited in terms of varieties versus what you can plant from seed. So don't fret. I'm only showing you what I've done, but you have plenty of time to start from seed. Luckily, we live in zone 9 and 10. So I want to show you this here. So we talked about tomatoes. And you can see here I have a T for transplant, meaning I've started the seeds in starter pots and they're going to be transplanted out. You still have plenty of time to do that. You can be succession planting your tomatoes well into June or July. It's amazing how long our season can be, and you can be growing tomatoes well into the fall and into the winter. The next on my list, so once I get all these out of the greenhouse and I make some more room, I'm gonna be starting my eggplants and my peppers. You know from my other videos that I've talked about how temperamental eggplants and peppers can be, and they really need warm soil. I'm gonna wait until the greenhouse warms up, our temperatures warm up, so that they sprout evenly and quickly, versus trying to sprout them now if I'm not using a heating pad, which you can use, but I don't have enough heating pads for this huge greenhouse. I will get erratic germination. They really will not germinate quickly and evenly, which is what I need. So you'll see I've got some items on here that have a D, which is for direct. So we've got watermelon, we got beans, we got corn, cucumbers you can direct sow or transplant, squash and pumpkins. Now, this is what I do, and there's a million different ways to garden and to farm. But for me, because these direct seeded crops really like warmer soil temperatures, and they also need to be direct sown in soil that's been prepped, it's been weeded, it's been tilled, all the different things that need to happen, these end up getting planted later on in the season because too busy, don't have time to do all that prep, and they're gonna germinate quicker, they're gonna grow quicker and help with eliminating competition with weeds if I plant them later in the season when the soil temperatures are warmer. So these direct sown crops, I can plant them in March, but it will likely be the very end of March, beginning of April, depending on how all of this planting with these tomatoes go. You have a very large window to plant those, so it's not a rush. The other thing to consider with something like corn really doesn't like to germinate in cold soil. So if you're in an area that's getting a last minute cold front, they're gonna germinate very slowly or erratically. And they also take up a lot of room. So again, for me, these corn, beans, watermelon, cucumbers, squash, and pumpkins, they're gonna be towards the end of March, even going into April. And depending on how my life goes, might even be later than that. You've got plenty of time. So let's review what March really should be like for you. March should be a time of excitement. You can feel the bees buzzing, everything's blooming, we've gotten some rain, things are taking off, but it should not be a moment of stress for you. We have a very long planting window, and as long as you're thinking about what you should be planting, getting your beds ready, prepping the soil, you've got plenty of time to start your warm season crops. What you should not be doing is planting more cool season crops from seed, and those are broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower. We are towards the end of that season. If you have plants that you have succession planted, you absolutely can put those in the ground and they will grow very quickly because our days are getting longer, but you don't have time to start them from the very seed stage. You do have time to succession plant some of your root crops, so carrots, radishes, beets, those we grow almost year round. Now you know that I love to talk about lettuces and leafy greens being planted all year. You can continue to plant them now, but keep in mind, days are getting longer, temperatures are getting warmer, you need to harvest them heavily and often, otherwise they're gonna go straight to flower and straight to seed. You can use shade cloth, which will help prolong their production, but naturally what they want to do is go to flower and go to seed. So that is March in a nutshell. Remember to go outside, enjoy the beginning of spring and how beautiful it looks, and spend some time in the garden. It will make your life better, I promise.